This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping at the wall, it's gone! A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judgy blast. All rise. Here comes the judge. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Coming up here in 2 hours, it is a game that everybody has marked on the calendar. I'm sure when we were ushering in 2025, sports fans around the world were saying to themselves, you know what? I can't wait. I cannot wait for March 3rd. It's a clash of titans. It's the game you have all waited for. The mega prospects. Oh, yeah, it is A's White Sox today here on A's Cast and Talk 650 KSTE.
I've been waiting since the White Sox had the worst record in history of baseball since last year for this game to happen.
I know you've been grinding the organization of the Sox.
Chris Getz,
the Chai Sox. Wow. You want to talk about running a business into the ground? You want to talk about, I mean, how do you even explain the Chicago White Sox? At least when we did this mini retool, mini rebuild, whatever you say, there was quickly a direction. That's always the thing with the A's, is that you have these runs, and then things change, remodel, rebrand, retool, whatever you want to call it, and then wham, a couple of years later, we're right back in it. Some of these franchises, they sell this, but they have no proof that they can do it. They can say they're going to tear down the house, and in like neighborhoods, there unfortunately will be that house in a neighborhood where you go, they've been working on that thing for 10 years and it's a total eyesore. There are some franchises like that where you're like, my God, I remember when they started this thing and there was contractors and all of a sudden builders, and we saw there's guys working on the house. I haven't seen anybody there in years, or they only work on it certain parts of the year. Right? There are homes like that. And that's what it feels like. With the A's, the reality is that just not – there's always purpose with what's happening in baseball ops in the business, right? There's always – we're winning 12, 13, 14. Okay, going to have to remake this thing. And everybody freaks out, and then all of a sudden, there you are back in the playoffs, 18, 19, 20, right? Had a good year in 21. You won 86 games. People forget that in 2021, after COVID, that was Marte came over. Who else came over in that?
we had a Josh Harrison
And the catcher.
Oh, Yan Gomes.
Yan Gomes. They made a run for it, but won 86 games, which is pretty damn good still. And then now we feel, here we are, 2025, right back in it. And now as spring training starting to go, there's people talking about, hey, look out for the A's. Versus Ryan Spilborghs is going to come on today. Does a great job. We listen to him a lot on Sirius XM. And with CJ, our buddy CJ Nikowski, formerly, we used to always bring him on with the Rangers. Now he's with the Braves, the big lefty. They do a show called Loud Outs on Sirius XM. It's terrific. It's basically the perspective of players doing a talk show. It's been pretty successful. He also does the Apple TV games. His regular job, though, is the Colorado Rockies, another team who They're that house that's always getting rebuilt in a division of good luck. I mean, you're going into the season as the Colorado Rockies, Dodgers, D-backs, Padres. I guess we'll throw it out to you, Giant fans. We know we have Giant fans that listen to this program. I guess we'll throw it out to you. I mean, if you're the Rockies, what's the game plan in 2025? We're talking about the White Sox today. You're the Rockies. You're the rock pile. What is the game plan? Wait for the Broncos training camp?
Hope the Nuggets and Avalanche make a run.
John Elway's not walking through that door.
I mean, Tovar is a really nice shortstop for them. They gave him the extension. Strikes out a little too much. He was second. He had second most strikeouts in baseball last year, behind Ellie De La Cruz. But that's really about it. I mean, they have some other nice, like Ryan McMahon's a nice player.
He's a good outfielder.
Brenton Doyle is a good outfielder, a really good outfielder that no one really knows about.
But you traded Arenado.
Arenado's gone.
You randomly signed Chris Bryant. I mean, but it's just like it's like you signed Chris Bryant.
He's healthy
and he's terrible. And Chris Bryant did the old Mike Hampton. I'm here to win. Mike Hampton talked about the school districts in Colorado, but at least Chris Bryant didn't do that. But Chris Bryant's there to win. And at one point last year, he still had never homered at Coors Field as a Rocky. He finally did. But that's the thing I'm so grateful we never have to deal with. We know that there's purpose to when you say, we've made a run. It was fun being in the postseason. We have a blast with that. Fell short. Time to redo this. We know it's not going to be a prolonged 10 years. It's a business plan. You actually have a business plan. And we're on the uptick once again. But some of these franchises, like White Sox have only been to the postseason. Was it 11, 12 times?
I think it's 11 times.
In their history.
Yeah, and they've been around since 1901 or something like that.
That's as many times as the A's have been in the playoffs since Billy Beane took over in 98. Was it 98? 97?
End of 97, yeah. So first year would have been 98-ish.
Yeah, it was after the baseball season, 97.
Yeah.
The first season was 98. He and Brian Cashman of the Yankees. So A's off to a very good start. We'll talk to Ryan Spilborghs. He was just in camp with SiriusXM with Jim Duquette, who we'll talk to also later in the week, the former GM who also does work for the Mets. But Spilly, as we like to call him, and he does all your Apple TV games. He will be here at 10:30. Shooty Babitt, who will be my partner doing TV pre and post on A's Cast on NBC, which you'll see before and after A's games this year on NBC Sports California. Can't wait for that. We'll talk to Shooty at 11 a.m. And then the first interview that we did this spring, I believe it was the first. We were at Fitch Park, and hey, we got to get you on now. Let's get you on now. And that was Lawrence Butler. We were able to get him. We weren't even supposed to be doing interviews that day. That was the Mark Kotze press conference, which was still a big deal. I know it was now a while back, but Mark Kotze, it was a big deal. It was emotional. It was a sign that, listen, this is the group we are going to build with this group. And all of a sudden, Mark Kotze, who has, I'm not going to do the math, but what's he average wins? 57, 59?
I think it was 59.
59? Has the longest contract in baseball for a manager. So it was a emotional day. The owner shows up, who normally you didn't see much of the owner. He shows up, talks to the team, makes this announcement. Like we keep talking about the change in culture in the organization. That day was like, wow. And then we got to talk to Lawrence Butler right after Mark Kotze and the announcement, David Force, and we came out and we did the little press conference. I mean, we never did press conferences from Fitch Park. That's like what? We're doing pretty cool. They had us come in early. It was an emotional, dynamic day, no question about it. And so far, so good, the way the team is playing in spring training. They are winning.
Spilly just texted me. He double booked today. He has to do it tomorrow.
Okay.
So, okay. I'll tell him okay.
Okay. That's fine. Who you want to play at 10:30?
I have JJ Bleday ready if you want to use him.
JJ Bleday got some ink. But I know people say that winning games in spring training, it's spring training. But that's true for some teams, like the A's playing the Dodgers. Dodgers need to show up. They're more than halfway through spring training because if you don't know, the Dodgers will be taking on the Cubs in Tokyo. So you start when you play overseas like the Dodgers have been. I remember the Dodgers played in South Korea. The Dodgers played. Did they play the Padres or the D-backs down in Australia?
Yeah, it was the Padres last year, right?
Padres are in South Korea, but I think the D-backs, they played the D-backs in Australia. We've done it twice. We've done it 3 times. I've done it twice with a team where we go to Tokyo, and you play earlier. So Dodgers spring training right now, just to use them as an example, that's just roll the balls out. Let's get guys going, get you ready for the season. Let's stay healthy, and we'll see you in Japan. But spring training is not equal for the players, and it's not equal for the teams. I would not say – I would have a hard time selling you if the A's were going out and getting beat every day. I would have a hard time selling you that because this group of individuals has not won anything yet. They need to learn how to win. They need to learn how to win on a consistent basis. You just can't get hot for the last 64 games and say, yep, we've got it licked now. What you do, it's like you go back, you follow the stuff, and social media, when you start following something or you start watching something, they know it and they start sending you more of it. So all of a sudden you're now, every single time you go on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, you start getting that kind of content. And I've done that. And you know who I always get? Because, I mean, he's a winner. And I want to hear from him. It's Nick Saban. And I love the Nick Saban media scrums that he would have with the Alabama media. But the stuff that he would say, winning is something that you don't do on game day. Winning is not something you do. They sing the national anthem, you roll the balls out, and then you win. Winning is something that you do all the time. You win every day. It's what you do for them. It was, what do you do when you wake up? And you go to that lift, and then you go to class, and then you come to practice. You win every single day. Winning, you don't turn on and off. You look at the great winners in the history of the game. Take a guy like Tiger Woods, international sports star, one of the biggest athletes we've ever seen in our lifetime. He just didn't show up with clubs and say, I'm ready to rock. Tiger was a mentality of winning every single day. You hear about Michael Jordan, it didn't matter what it was. Cards, golf, anything in his life, it was like, it's about winning. It's an addiction. It's who you are. And that's what the A's need to develop, because winners do the right thing every single day. How we train, how we get ready, how do you take care of your body, how you conduct yourself during the games, how do we run the bases, how do we play defense, all that kind of stuff matters. It's the changing of the culture from loser to winner. Winners know how to do it. Dodgers have proven that. Dodgers are on a Braves-like run. Was it 12 years? When 11 out of 12,
11 out of 12, yeah.
They've won the West?
Yep. 11 out of 12. The one year was 21 when they won 106 and the Giants won 107.
I mean, proof's in the pudding. I mean, all they do is win. All they do is win, and everything they do is a culture that produces W's. And oh, by the way, I said this yesterday in a conversation with somebody, because there's people who are like, I'm so tired of the Dodgers. The Dodgers being, and we can bring it up since we played them yesterday. The Dodgers right now are great for our sport. Having a super team is actually really good for your sport. I'll throw it back to you 49er fans. No. Not you recent 49er fans.
Whoa.
Yes.
Not Brock Purdy, George
Not
Kittle.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Happy Trails, Deebo Samuel.
No. We're going to go back to the 49ers of the 80s and the 90s. The 49ers, who I want to say for 15 straight years or 14 straight years, won at least 10 games a year. They were in the postseason every single year but one. The Niners were it was about Super Bowls. You won 5 Super Bowls. You had some of the greatest coaches, some of the greatest players in the history of the game. And people got tired of hearing about Bill Walsh. They got tired of hearing about Joe Montana. They got tired of hearing about Jerry Rice. But the Niners were a super team. They were in it every year. You knew if you were going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, whether you were the Giants, you were the Redskins, whoever, you knew you were going to have to go through the 49ers. Right? They were the Patriots before the Patriots. I know it's funny now. We have kids that come to work for us and they're huge 49er fans. And you're like, well, who's your quarterback for the Niners? You're like, well, really, when I was a kid, it was Jeff Garcia. Like Jeff Garcia. Like they didn't see Montana. They didn't even see. Like it's crazy to me that kids didn't see Steve Young. But I mean, like Steve Young was done in 96, 97.
Somewhere around there, 97 or 98.
Lawrence Phillips misses that block, and it was all over against the Cardinals. When was what was his last year? How many years?
16 straight years they won 10 or more.
I'm short. I'm sorry, 49er
17
fan.
of 18.
I just shortchanged you. 16 straight years of winning 10 games a year. That's amazing.
From 83 to 98.
I mean, because of Eddie DeBartolo and Jerry Jones, the NFL's like, okay, you guys are spending way too much on your roster. We got to get a salary cap. I mean, the 49ers and the Cowboys in the early 90s were so loaded. They had starters that should have been starting on other teams that are backups. And you're like, no, okay, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. But yeah, the super team, right? The Patriots, we've just lived that. The Chicago Bulls and that run that they had, basically 2 different runs of winning 3 straight for when Michael Jordan went off to play minor league baseball. Gambling.
Allegedly.
What did I say something?
It was his dad.
That was a cough.
It was his dad.
Gambling. Hey, Mike. We need you to go away for a little bit. Let's call Jerry Reinsdorf. Of course, he owns the White Sox, and he owns the Chicago Bulls. And you played baseball when you were a kid. Not really in high school, but why don't you try minor league baseball? Just leave the league for a little bit. Let this whole thing kind of blow over, and we'll, the Rick Bukers of the world on ESPN magazine, they'll help it. They're gonna be fine.
Michael Jordan's first professional hit was against
Scott Emerson.
Scott Emerson.
He played for who? Who did he play for? The Birmingham Barons. Who did he play for? Who was his skipper?
Oh, Terry Francona.
Terry Francona.
They're asking who did Emo play for. I don't remember.
No, I do not know who Scott Emerson played for in the minor. Our pitching coach, Scott Emerson, if you didn't know, gave up Michael Jordan's first hit.
Fact,
pretty cool,
yeah.
Right?
I mean, just two basketball guys playing baseball.
So super teams are good. Getting back on track, super teams are good, right? And the Dodgers, and what I like about it is it's not the Yankees. It's not the same old, the narrative, because your generation grew up with this super Yankee team. It's Joe Torre, it's Jeter, it's all a Posada, Pettit, Mariano Rivera. It's all those guys, right? Bernie, it's those guys winning, and you're like, oh my God, every year we got to see the Yankees. And then that takes us back to the all the historic Yankee stuff. That gets old, right? That's why the Patriots was refreshing. Because the Patriots, who the hell were the Patriots? Patriots got smoked in the Super Bowl against one of the greatest teams of all time, the Chicago Bears with Steve Grogan back in the day,
85.
Right? And then the Patriots got back there and lost to the Green Bay Packers with Parcells. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't like so when you get these things. So the Dodgers being on the West Coast, the Dodgers, it's kind of it does work. A new super tight suit, but it's fun to have somebody to hate. I've hated the Dodgers my entire life. I can't stand the Dodgers. But it's good to have a team. I know parity seems like it sells, but from a standpoint of having one team that you can highlight. So when the A's play the Dodgers, I guarantee you everything goes up. Everything goes up. And then when the Dodgers go to the next town, that team, everything goes up. When I mean everything goes up, that means attendance, that means television ratings, radio ratings, just people looking at your social media, just all the numbers go up when they come to town. And now it's almost perfect that Shohei Ohtani is on that team. It works. Your game like the World Series. It's not really that it's funny. It's not like the World Series. The World Series would have still got great numbers without the Yankees in it. Because the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani, right? Throwing the Yankees in there was icing on the cake. But our game needed that. Our game needed something like that, where you have the team, the super team in there, and everybody most people hate, and then a lot of people like, but most people hate, but they draw interest. They spark human emotion. It makes people who don't normally watch. And that's what the World Series used to be. We kind of got back on track. No offense to the Texas Rangers, but the Texas Rangers being in the World Series doesn't blow up people's skirt.
Oh, so you weren't tuned into every pitch for Diamondbacks Rangers 2 years ago?
No, we were on before those games, so yes, I was. But it's not
the ratings show. Not everyone else was.
It's not about me. And those are not small markets. Dallas and Phoenix are 2 top 10 television markets. So people try, it's the Rangers. No, Rangers and Snakes, that's 2 top 10 markets. Phoenix, you call it Phoenix, it's a sprawled out valley that's got a lot of people. And when you're down there at spring training and you're driving around all these different sites and you're driving through, you realize how big Scottsdale is. And then you're in Tempe. And then you're in Mesa. Mesa is large, where we and the Cubs train. And then you go all the way out to Peoria and Glendale. You got Gilbert. You got Surprise. You got all these places. There's a lot of people in that valley. It's a top 10 television market. I believe they're actually number 10, and then like Dallas is probably like 5 or 6. So, but no one watched. Didn't have any interest. Getting the Dodgers back is definitely a super team is good for the game. And now it's time for and what's great about it, it's now time for everybody to knock them off. And that's, now that they've won and kind of solidified themselves, now we have a season where everybody is like, let's go get those SOBs. And so now you're truly, in the National League West, if you're the Diamondbacks, you're the Padres, you're the Giants, you're like, it's game on, let's go. This is who we're chasing. This is who we have to defeat. Taking this back to the Niners, you're now the Atlanta Falcons. You're the New Orleans Saints back in the day when the divisions were much different. You're the
That's right.
You're the Los Angeles Rams playing in Anaheim at the Big A. With John Robinson.
It's with Atlanta being in the, playing the Niners, and then the Giants and Braves being division rivals in the NL West was always so interesting to me too. Back in the 93 when the Giants lost the division to the Braves, and they're the NL West. Like, that's just
Solomon Torres on the mound.
It was crazy to think of how baseball geographically did markets back then, and all sports. Because weren't the Seahawks playing in aren't they playing in a weird conference too, or division?
They were in the AFC West.
Yeah.
With the Raiders and the Broncos and the Chiefs. But it was insane, right? How is Atlanta both in baseball and football? You gotta remember, the Falcons and the Braves were both in the AFC West and the NL West. The NL West had the Reds. Cincinnati, Ohio was in the West. Houston, Texas, which is still in the West, was ridiculous, but Houston was in the NL West. The NL West was a joke. We had the great Dale Murphy, who should be in the Hall of Fame. We had Dale Murphy on this program. And Dale Murphy said, it was the best to get out of the hot, humid weather of Atlanta and come to San Francisco and San Diego and Los Angeles. They loved it. But it was ridiculous. Like, how do you think about the AL West. and you had the White Sox, and you had the Twins. They were all in the West. It's like, dude, uncle, it's awful.
And you want to look at, like, just tie back to, like, locally for, our listeners on Talk 650 KST and the Sacramento region. I mean, everyone hated the Warriors super team of the last 10
No,
years.
we forgot about the Warriors.
What Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, like that was a super team everyone hated. And before that, it was the Miami Heat with LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. But they got ratings and they won titles. And then
Are you going to tell me that the Warriors weren't good for the NBA?
I think they were great for the NBA.
I mean, and I know there's a lot of people in Sacramento going, ugh, but let's be honest. Because it was something new and it wasn't the Lakers.
Or the Celtics.
Well, the Celtics haven't really been, let's be honest. I mean, after Bird has left, they haven't had a long sustained.
They've won 2 titles, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, but that's, I mean.
And they're sporadic. One was
1980s was a long time ago, Cody. To say you've spread out 2 titles, talking about a super team, right? Yeah, the Warriors are a great example because they're like what the Dodgers are now. They're not the establishment. They're like the Patriots. The Patriots weren't the establishment, right? They've like come out of nowhere and like, oh. And all of a sudden, when you got little kids in China wearing Steph Curry jerseys, you know that is good. By the way, the Oscars were last night. I'm going to bet none of you watched. But I got something I saw today that I went, you talk about snubs, and you talk about just royal you-know-what jobs. If you look at the Oscars and look at last year's awards, I saw something today. I got it for you next, right here on A's Cast Live.
The time is now. Pitchers and catchers have officially reported to Arizona. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun as the Athletics get ready for the 2025 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Dodgers, Angels, and more at Ho-Ho-Cam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring. A's outfielder Brent Rooker joined Chris Townsend during spring training to discuss the confidence inside the A's clubhouse.
So it's a very real confidence. It's a very real optimism. It's unique in that it's a confidence that also comes with the knowledge that we haven't proven anything yet, and we know that people on the outside still don't believe in us, but we believe in ourselves and we believe in each other. And we are at a very cool crossroads of being hungry to compete, wanting to compete, and knowing that we can compete while also being confident what the future looks like. So it's a cool feeling inside the clubhouse right now. Guys are working really hard. Guys are communicating well. We're talking. We're trying to help each other get better, and that's a cool place to be.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2025 season. Secure your seats today for opening week against the Chicago Cubs and lots of exciting giveaways, including an A's basketball jersey, a straw hat, and 3 bobbleheads. You'll be nodding yes to our Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, and Lawrence Butler bobbleheads in June and July. More hot ticket homestands as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, and Mets. Get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/AceCast. That's athletics.com/AceCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/AceCast today. The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
All right, coming up here at 11 o'clock, we will have the super scout, Shooty Babitt. It is an unbelievable career that's starting to wind down. You think of all of his time with the Atlanta Braves, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the New York Mets, now the A's. I mean, Shooty is the guy that when you are at the trade deadline and you have a player that you are going to shop to other teams, you need to get the best possible return for that player. So you need to scour someone's minor league system. You have reports on everybody, but now you got to really be accurate, right? Because we're gonna trade player X. And it's going to be a bad look because whenever you trade one of your top guys for prospects, people are going to be upset. So you send a guy out like Shooty to go find, hey, we're trading so-and-so. You better go find me the – so let's send Shooty out, and he'd go out, and he'd come back and go, well, if you are going to trade this great player, go for this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. That's how organizations felt about Shooty. He was like the cooler of scouting, right? He was the dude, and he still is. But Shooty has also done television for many, many years. And Shooty will be my partner on NBC Sports California for the pre- and post-game shows. We now call it A's Cast on NBC when the team is on the road and we are back in San Francisco at the NBC studios. So Shooty will be back for a lot of games. He's going to join us at the top of the hour. Speaking of guys that you have and that you're going to trade, I saw this today and I feel it's not something that you're going to be like, well, we told you so, but it's like you feel bad. Sean Murphy out again to start the season. Last year was an oblique. The former A's catcher has a cracked rib, and he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. And we know how that rolls when you're out and you cannot swing and you cannot play. I mean, Sean Murphy last year, his numbers were terrible. It was a really, really rough year. And he is now in that hitting 30 as a catcher where we know things start to go a little haywire, right? Things you don't, as a catcher and you get into your 30s, offense seems to diminish. You start getting hurt. And you look at this, last year he caught 72 games and hit 193. This goes back to whether it's this show or it's the post-game show where I tell everybody, stop trying to get married to everybody. This fan base needs to rewire itself. And we're going to hopefully do that, and change allows you to do that. But we need to rewire, right? Because there was always this, if you're any good, sign them. We never get to sign our players. We don't have jerseys. Well, Brent Rooker just signed. Lawrence Butler supposedly is just going to sign. Guys are going to start signing. We're rewiring the fan base. Stop trying to get into bad marriages because they don't end well, right? Everybody wanted to ink up Sonny Gray. I mean, it goes back to the big three, and then it's really since Giambi claims he didn't have a real offer. Other people go, no, his agent aren't telling him exactly what the offer was. You remember Giambi was on this program. Yep. I never saw an offer. Like, Jason, they offered here. But whatever. We've been playing that dance for so long about signing players up. Well, we're starting to sign players up. But for years, it was like anybody who was halfway decent, inked them up to a long-term deal because we want to love them. And it's like Sean Murphy was looked as a guy who was going to be a big-time catcher. His best year was 2023, goes to the Braves. He has an 844 OPS, outstanding, 21 home runs. He played in 108 games. Darno was also there too, so they had a rotating two-headed monster there at catcher. Darno now a
Los Angeles Angel.
So, but Sean Murphy, these are his best years. This is he got a nice contract from the Atlanta Braves, and they're not fans, at least at this point. Fans are not really thrilled with Matt Olson's year last year, and now they're not going to really be thrilled with what happened last year with Sean Murphy, and then now going into this year. Because last year he played in only 72 games, hit 193, had an OPS of 636, and the Braves were disappointing. And now a cracked rib, stuff you can't control. You're going into your age 30 season and you're already hurt, and it's gonna be a tough sled. To where now we look back and you go, knock on wood, Shea Langoliers, I'm pretty cool with having a catcher that has a chance to have 30-plus home runs, drive in maybe 100 runs, and has put up offensive numbers Sean Murphy has never come close to.
And Sean Murphy's WAR is inflated if you look at his numbers, because I did a side-by-side from when Langoliers came up to when Murphy was traded to the Braves. And Murph dominates in like every category except for home runs and RBIs, but his numbers are inflated with his WAR and stuff because of his defense. Like, he's a very good defensive catcher.
A Matt Chapman-like deal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Murph's a really good defensive catcher where, going forward, I know we saw Aaron Boone say he doesn't like the ABS system. Terry Francona and the Cincinnati Reds aren't even using it in the spring training, where the defensive value of catchers is we talked about it last week, is going to start diminishing with framing. So how much value do the catchers have if you're a good pitch framer but you can't hit? Those guys are going to go by the wayside, and the offensive catcher is going to come back, and Murph needs to get back on the field quickly to see that, or he's going to start dwindling away when it's in his 30s and the injuries keep coming.
Does anybody care what managers or players think anymore? I mean, does anybody? I know the writers, you got to go in and I care what Mark Kotze says, and we'll ask him about it. But for what's best for the entertainment value of the game, are you really going to ask the players? Players don't have a perspective of what's best for the game. They have a perspective of what they want. Because they're young men who are very, let's face it. Here's the reality. Young men with a lot of money and everybody caters to you. Creates a selfish environment. These young men care about me, myself, and I. Do they care about the enjoyment of the people who are sitting in the stands? No. No. Like managers, your job as a manager is not to promote the game. Your job is not to grow the game. Your job is to manage the team and win games. That's your job. And what happens is we have people in the media who at this time of the year have nothing to write about. Like, what are you going to write about? It's spring training. We've started playing games. We've already gone through hey, what'd you do this offseason? Hey, what were you working on? Hey, JP Sears is going through the windup now, and he and Scott Emerson talked about it. It's a story that's out today. You can read it at athletics.com, and he's trying to get his timing going. And, okay. So unless there's an injury, Sean Murphy out 4 to 6 weeks, there's not much going on in your camp. So they're trying out the ABS system, and they go to the manager and they go to the player. I mean, do you remember everybody hated the pitch clock?
Yeah.
Do we remember that? Everybody hated the pitch clock. And we all now look at it and go, wow, look how we've decreased the standing around time. This is great. But if you listen to these guys, they were not for it, the majority of them. So why would we go and ask their opinion when none of them have a marketing degree? Most of them don't own their own business. Because they're the players. Well, guess what? It's better sometimes that you don't ask the players. You just tell the players what to do. David Forst, our general manager, is the best about it. He says, I don't have opinion on this stuff. You just tell me what the rules are, and we'll go forward building the club around those rules. Perfect answer. You know why? Because David Forrest's job is not to sell tickets. David Forrest's job is not to get television ratings, radio ratings, streaming numbers. That's not his job. His job is to build the team. So we're going and asking opinions of people that they don't know what's good and what's bad. They just know selfishly what they want and what one individual wants for an entire bit. What other business do we do that? Do you go into Starbucks and ask the person, hey, I know you're making my Americano, but what do you think Starbucks as a company should do? Do we do that?
No, I don't know. There could be people, but we don't.
Do you ask your local barista how the entire franchise should do you go into McDonald's? Do you go into whatever? I mean, just using whatever company. Do you go into the Apple store and say, hey, Apple store employee, how do you think Apple should implement? You go, that's ridiculous. Well, that's what we're doing with these players. We're asking the players their opinion on stuff. You mean Terry Francona, who was too tired, couldn't manage anymore, and all of a sudden is back, and now we want his opinion on ABS? There's so many dinosaurs in our game. The young players, and we never get the young players. Like when I would have been 2 years ago. Remember when Lawrence Butler and Tyler Soderstrom were walking down the line together? I said, hey, come here. We were right before we were about to go on the air. And I said, hey, you guys cool with that? Because I was like, we've never seen the ABS system. We've never seen it. We've never watched it up and close and personal at our games. So it's like, do you guys like it? You tell me. You're the young guys who've been doing it in the minor leagues, balls and strikes. Both of them said, yeah, it's cool. So that baseball was genius putting it in the lower levels. Let these guys play with it because these guys soon will be big leaguers. So once they get to the big leagues, they're used to it. You don't hear any of the young pitch timer, ABS. These guys don't bigger bags. These guys don't. This is all they know. So I always wonder, when we go to people and ask them about, what do you think? It's like, these are lazy spring training stories. Guess what? Whether you like it or not, it's coming. And by the way, from what I've seen with my own eyes, fans dig it. Fans love it. We have the whole thing with Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. They were both teammates in Washington, won a title together. I guess they're buddies. You have Phillies and Blue Jays from Bradenton. And Max Scherzer's first pitch of the game right down the middle, and Trey Turner trolls him and challenges it.
There you go.
Scherzer getting ready to go. His first pitch of the day to Trey Turner is a strike.
Didn't waste any time to get a challenge. Trey Turner says, I think that was a ball. Right out of the chute. We saw this the other day. A lot of challenges early in the game.
Call is confirmed. It is a strike.
Turner's smiling at him. Those two are former teammates, won the World Series together in Washington, traded together to the Dodgers. I wonder half if he's messing with him as much as
Absolutely,
anything.
that's what.
Of course he is. They're buddies. It's a joke. It's spring training. These are two, Scherzer's trying to get healthy and prove he can be healthy, and the Phillies are a team that's just trying to stay healthy and get through spring training. Of course, first pitch, challenge, I'm trolling my buddy.
Yeah, I found that video on Twitter. I can't remember if it was on Sports. The video was from Sports, and I can't remember if it was on MLB's Twitter or not. But I saw that, and it was the first thing I thought of was he's totally trolling Scherzer after what Scherzer said about ABS the other day.
Yeah, but it's coming, and fans dig it. I can't wait till it's implemented, the challenge system, which then eventually will lead to full-on ABS. But late in a game, it's ninth inning, 2 runners on, bases loaded, whatever. There's a close pitch, packed house. Guy challenges it. Everybody's going to look up at the scoreboard because count leverage, right? We know the data. A hitter's got a better chance when the count is in his favor. Pitcher has a better chance of getting you out when the count's in his favor. And these balls and strikes, they matter late in games. And we're all going to be on edge. And the fact that this isn't, once again, the NFL, we throw the challenge flag. 49ers are challenging the fumble call. Oh, my God, here we go. We're going to a commercial break. No, it's less than 10 seconds. It's instant feedback. That's another thing that's key because we as human beings want that instant feedback, right? He challenged, I want the answer now. We don't like you challenge, you're giving me the answer in 2 minutes. And that's kind of what happens with our challenge system. It totally disrupts the flow of the game. This doesn't. This is like you challenge, pops up on the board, ball or strike, move on. Works perfect. But I can't wait, right? Packed house, big moment. Somebody, how about a playoff game? How about a playoff game where all of a sudden it's like everybody's going to be on such edge, it's going to be crazy.
Don't worry, there'll be people criticizing it. That's going to happen. I don't want to see this at a playoff game.
Okay, I'll say it to you. Why would you say that? You don't have proof of that because now no one even doubts the clock in playoff and World Series play.
But at first when it came around,
I don't want to say it. You said, people are going to. They're not doing it. We went through a whole playoffs. Who was complaining about it?
Well, now, when it first came around, people are saying they don't want to see it in the postseason.
No.
No one's complaining about it now, yes.
No one had seen it in the postseason. If you can find me one story during the actual postseason where somebody wrote about the clock, I would challenge you, find me one.
Oh, I was talking about when we first talked about using it overall.
Talking about it, you just say, people are getting. Once we had the clock, no one even brought it up. Yeah, there's always going to be people who complain. But once it got implemented, it was like, oh, this is great. I still, to this day, wait for somebody to really come out and say they don't like the pitch clock. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves how the game's over faster. There's less downtime. There were obviously the detractors years ago said, you'll never put a clock in baseball. But once we got this thing going, who was complaining?
You don't see very many, if anyone, complaining about it now.
Can you find an article that people complained in the postseason about the clock?
No, the one thing the one article I do remember was like, it was before we used the clock. It was that whole, and I think it was Jason Stark that wrote it. Remember when Bryce Harper had that epic at bat for the Phillies, where I want to say it was against the Padres or whatnot, and this was before the pitch timer, I believe, and it was a long at bat, and they said, can you imagine if he had that at bat now with the pitch timer? It wouldn't have been the same. The everything, the intensiveness and everything wouldn't have been the same. And I remember that's the one article I always remember. But since then, I haven't seen anything about people complaining about the clock since it's the pitch timer or anything.
Yeah, it becomes second nature. Rule changes become second nature, and you just get used to it and you watch it. And it's going to be great.
The only rule I ever hear people complain about in sports is we still don't know what a catch is in the NFL, and people hate the overtime rule. They're trying to tweak it again.
Or the kickoff rule.
Man. Yeah, I mean, the NFL always has something. We still don't know what a catch is in 2025. But other than that, everything else has been great.
I need to pay off that tease. We will get to the Oscar thing. You brought this to my attention, and I Googled it during as Trent Baalke, former GM of the Niners, once said on my show, you got to Google it. Has there ever been an athlete that had a career like Pete Rose? That here he is, he's passed away, and the drama is still there. We're still talking about it. I'm looking at an article right here. MLB should not reinstate Pete Rose. Why nothing has changed about the hits leader's baseball gambling. He died in 2024. We're in 2025. This is a saga that has been going on since the 80s, where a lot of you weren't even born who are listening or watching A's Cast right now. If you're with us on 650 KSTE in Sacramento, I mean, how many of you were even born and lived this? And here we are in 2025. This was however you feel about it now. So essentially, to give you kind of a cliff notes, Pete Rose signed an agreement to be banned from baseball. Then the Baseball Hall of Fame changed the rules of who can be on the ballot. And if you're banned from baseball, you can't be on the ballot. That move right there is what has sparked decades of this conversation about Pete Rose. That move right there. Not a lot of people know that. People believe baseball, I mean, whether it's been on KMBR or 95.7, I've had this, you take phone calls because it comes up and you're like, most people don't know the deal. Baseball does not control the Baseball Hall of Fame. The Baseball Hall of Fame is independent of Major League Baseball. So whether Pete Rose is banned or not from baseball had nothing to do with him being on the ballot. The Hall of Fame changed its rules. Biggest mistake they ever made, and why we're still dealing with this today. Because what would have happened if people would have been smart and they were doing the whole PR thing, right? Like, what's the best way to handle this? It's a crisis, right? People love Pete Rose, all-time hits leader. He's viewed as Charlie Hustle, the big red machine. Then he went to Philly. He's a winner. People love Pete Rose because of the way he played. He was a star. Pete Rose was a star. How do we handle this mess? Well, they made one big mistake. And baseball should have gotten with the Baseball Hall of Fame, leave him on the ballot. Because what would have happened after 5 years? Pete Rose would have been on the ballot. And then there was 15 years you would have been able to vote on Pete Rose. Because they didn't have the knowledge we have now, to be fair, because we went through it with the steroid guys, right? Bonds and Clemens are going to be on the ballot for all this time. And what happens? They just don't vote for him. So Pete Rose would have been on the ballot for 15 years. He wouldn't have gotten the 75%. Then he would have come off the ballot, and it's over. And we wouldn't be having this conversation now that he's dead in 2025. It would have been over in, what was Rose's last year? Late 80s?
Let's take a look.
I'm going to say like 88, 87, something like that was his last year. He was a player manager, remember?
A lot of this stemmed because his family filed a lawsuit to have his name taken off the permanently banned list.
Which that's, once again, still has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame.
His last year as a player was 1986.
I'm not even close. 86. All right. So 86. So what? 91? 91 to 2001, 2006, 2005, 2006. My math correct?
Yeah, about 2006.
Remember, I have San Jose State math, which I should always be fact checked when it comes to numbers.
2006, yeah.
I am never, ever, ever going to get mad if you fact check my math. Not my strength. What? So 2006?
Yeah, we'll say around
2006, it would have been over. He would have been on the ballot. Well, actually, they shortened it, but I think he would have got the 15 years.
It's 10 now, right?
It's 10 now, but he would have got the 15 years. He wouldn't have got voted in, and it would have been only 15 years of dealing with this. And then he would have got the Veterans Committee, and they wouldn't have put him in, and it'd be over. And he would have passed away, and we'd be like, "Oh, the Hit King died. That's sad. It's, it's not in the Hall of Fame. Sad." But we're still dealing with this because of that one major mistake that enough people don't talk about. Whether you reinstate, I mean, it doesn't matter now. You can reinstate him back into, he's not alive. So it's not going to matter. The whole point is he was never on the ballot to be voted on. And he's still never gotten that. So there's your crux right there. And here we are, 2025, still dealing with one of the biggest PR nightmares in the history of sports. These business decisions matter, and it's an ugly thing. Like, we've had multiple commissioners, and we've had people talk. I mean, it's just like it's 2025, and we're still talking about Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. It would have been over if you just put him on the ballot. If you wouldn't have made that silly rule and you put him on the ballot, he never gets to 75%. And once you don't get voted in, you can debate whether he should be in or not, but he went through the process, I guess is the best way I should put it. He never got a chance to go through the process. And since he never got the chance to go through the process, that's why today we're still dealing with it.
Well, actually, don't you need to have, I think you need to have like 5% of the vote to even stay on the ballot.
Correct.
Who says no one voted for him first year, he's off the ballot.
Yeah. He could have been off the ballot year 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah, he could have been off the ballot.
Good point.
Yeah, after the first year, all the writers could have said character clause, and we're not voting for him, and then he would have just not been on the ballot again.
Yeah, the writers would have controlled. You know what? You didn't allow anyone to control his fate. You allowed the Baseball Hall of Fame to make an emotional bad business decision. Instead, you could have allowed the writers to do the process and allow him to go through the process. Let's pause for station identification right here on A's Cast. To be honest with you, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm one that thinks Pete should be in the Hall of Fame. I see this article of why he shouldn't be, and I understand how people feel with the gambling and everything. I understand it's in the sign's up in every single clubhouse. I get it, but Pete Rose, the player, to me, should have a plaque in the Hall of Fame.
It's a museum.
Yeah, it's a museum that's about the history of the game.
Can you tell the history of baseball without Pete Rose? The answer is no.
And if I check museums, because I like going to museums, museums need to tell the whole story, the good and the bad. You need to tell the bad, right? When you go to Washington, D.C., and you go to museums, and you go to the Smithsonian's, not everything's great, right? It's one thing that I learned so much. I talk about the World War I Museum in Kansas City. That's phenomenal. You learn a lot about World War I, and it's gruesome. It's the worst war ever. Most people died in it from all over the world. It was off. I mean, you need to tell the history, and we're not telling the history, and it's because of a bad PR move. All righty, coming up next, Shooty Babitt. Is there anybody better than Shooty Babitt? The answer is no, and he's next right here on A's Cast Live.
The time is now. Pitchers and catchers have officially reported to Arizona. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun as the Athletics get ready for the 2025 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Dodgers, Angels, and more at Ho-Ho-Cam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring. Athletics DH Brent Rooker joined Towny on A's Cast Live during his extension press conference to discuss becoming the face of the franchise.
It's been a wild ride. It's
crazy.
Yeah, it's happened quick in a sense. And it feels like for me, in a sense, it's kind of taken a long time, obviously, because it took a little bit later into my career for things like this to start to develop. But it's been crazy. It's been fun. I owe a ton to this organization, the people in it, for giving me the opportunity that I was looking for a while, and I'm grateful I was able to take advantage of it and get to this point.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2025 season. Secure your seats today for opening week against the Chicago Cubs and lots of exciting giveaways, including an A's basketball jersey, a straw hat, and 3 bobbleheads. You'll be nodding yes to our Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, and Lawrence Butler bobbleheads in June and July. More hot ticket homestands as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, and Mets. Get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
New A's starting pitcher Jeffrey Springs outlines the similarities between the young A's and his old team in Tampa Bay.
A lot of similarities in a lot of the ways, in the sense of like young guys, a lot of talented, young players that are establishing themselves or have, established themselves in the last year or two, and really finding, their way, their path, and kind of, making the adjustments. So it's exciting, watching, the guys throw, the guys hit, and then, like you said, competing against them the last couple of years, the talent. It's exciting, when you kind of have younger guys that are hungry and eager to play. Those can be dangerous teams. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
I mean, if you want to go all in on this, I do believe the guy that's the most MVPs and the most home runs should be in the museum. I'm not saying he should be in the Hall of Great People, right? The guy has the most Cy Young awards, should be in. The guy has the most hits, should be in. It's a museum. And don't tell me, well, they have artifacts that are in there. Come on. We're grown-ups. We can make tough decisions. And the decisions of everybody's got morals these days, right?
Character clause.
Everybody's got morals these days. It's like, oh, God.
That was the one thing that really irked me whenever obviously, as being a lifelong Ichiro fan, and did I think he should be unanimous? Probably not, but he fell one vote shy of it. And it's funny that the same guy
it's okay for you, by the way, it's okay for you to say that's stupid, because if you're a Hall of Famer, why wouldn't someone vote for you?
Exactly.
Like
no one voted. Not everyone voted for Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron is third all time in hits. When he retired, he had the most home runs. He has the most RBIs. He's third. Only Rose and Cobb had more hits than him. That means only Cobb, when Hank Aaron retired, only Ty Cobb had more hits. So you got the most home runs, the most hits, and someone doesn't vote for you? How do you not vote for him? If you look at Hank Aaron's numbers, it's like, my God. He had 3,700-something hits to go along with the 756 home runs and over 2,000 RBIs. And someone went, nah, I'm not. What?
That's why you're telling me in the history of baseball, there's only been one guy that's been unanimous Hall of Famer, and it's Mariano Rivera. Like, nothing against Mo. He was an incredible closer, but that's the only guy that was unanimous.
Babe Ruth saved the sport. I don't know if anybody knows this, but there were financial times weren't so hot. We weren't signing guys to $700 million contracts. Franchises weren't worth over $1 billion. Franchises were struggling. Well, Ruth and the Yankees would come in, sell out, and the ticket money would put money into that organization's bank account, and Ruth helped franchises stay afloat. Kind of a big deal, this guy, Babe Ruth.
He missed 11 people didn't vote for him.
11 people didn't vote for the guy who kept the sport alive.
Well, getting back to my Ichiro point before we get to Shooty, one voter didn't vote for him, just like Derek Jeter. One person didn't vote for him, guy or gal. We don't know. We never will know. But everyone claims the character clause. You have to have a character to be in the Hall of Fame. And then they don't have no character by not revealing themselves as who didn't vote for the said person. That the character clause irks me more than anything when it comes to baseball Hall of Fame voting.
Can I give you what irks me? Well, you kind of have to, because I host the show.
Yeah.
But can I give you permission to tell you what irks me?
Permission granted.
Who are these people voting now? We talk about archaic systems. Like, at some point, I don't know when I want to get into it. I was thinking about this going, all this talk about a potential lockout, strike, whatever that's coming because of salary cap. Every other sport has proven that a salary cap is good. Every other sport. But our sport, once again, goes, no. Forget what everybody else is doing that works. No, we're different. In what walk of life controlling the employees' payments and salaries is not good for a business? I'll wait for it. Employee salaries run amok is not good for business. Everybody's still making tons of money, but we'll get into that another day.
Well, that came out over the weekend about the lockout stuff.
Yeah, it's like, it's so ridiculous. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, because we have an archaic system, because there's still a few teams that have big television contracts. Everybody else doesn't. So how is that good for your sport? And no one can tell you that it is. We'll get to that. But here's my problem. The Baseball Writers Association, who is it and what is it in 2025? Because I don't know. Because I've been around a little bit now, and when I first got into this business, and every team had all these beat writers, and teams would come to town, whether they'd come to whatever part of the Bay Area, and they'd have all these writers. That's gone. National Baseball right, that's gone. We have hardly anybody who technically is a writer in baseball now. We see at the winter meetings, right? Where are all these Baseball Writers Association? A lot of the people in the Baseball Writers Association were columnists back when newspapers were printed every day. And so you had columnists who gave opinions, and that was their job. And they got the right to vote. And you see the people in the Bay Area who have to vote, and you go, that person has a vote? I haven't seen them at the ballpark in years. So the people who are now the archaic system of who are we allowing to even vote on these guys' career needs to be brought up.
I think I did before we came back on the air, before spring training started, I looked it up one day in the office. And I was like, I wonder how many writers in the Bay Area have a Hall of Fame vote. And you could look because it lists them for when the Hall of Fame ballot came out or the results. If I counted correctly, and I might have missed some names that I don't know from when I didn't live here, but from the names I do know, I think I saw 18 different writers and columnists that are on there that have the Hall of Fame vote in just the Bay Area alone, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose area. That's insane.
Yeah, because they worked for the Chronicle, the Mercury, the CC Times, the Oakland Tribune, the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. There were their columnists like Mark Purdy, who I still see in our neck of the woods down here in San Jose. Mark Purdy's been retired for years. He has a Hall of Fame vote. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So, yeah, we need to restructure that. It's something that needs to be done. But once again, that's not baseball's problem.
Yeah.
This is, you know who gets away with all this stuff? It's a Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we criticize the sport when it's the Hall of Fame. That
we're always banging on the sport about it. It's not the sport doesn't control. These sports don't control their Hall of Fames. I do not believe the NFL controls Canton, Ohio, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The NFL didn't run it.
No, the NBA doesn't run the Naismith Hall of Fame, and the NHL doesn't run the Hockey Hall of Fame.
But yet we always want to blame the sport. Like the sport has nothing. The sport doesn't. They don't own it. They don't control it. They. So it's really like the Baseball Hall of Fame has gotten away with all these bad decisions because we don't see them, right? We see them one time a year. Hey, here's the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Hey, it's the Hall of Fame inductions. Well, we see it twice a year. We see when they put the guys get voted in and they bring them up to Cooperstown now and they do the press conference and the shows and everything. And then we'll see in the last weekend of July. And that's it. And then the rest of the year, it's just a museum, and it's an awesome museum, the Baseball Hall of Fame. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't love baseball, it's a great museum. Once again, it's a museum.
I still think my favorite is when we talked about this for years, and I mean this, I mean no disrespect whatsoever, and to Martin Gallegos, our good friend of MLB.com, who covers the Athletics, to tell me that he's on a Hall of Fame voter yet, I don't think, but eventually he will be a Hall of Fame voter. You're telling me he has more to say on said player than Vin Scully did, or
John
Miller, or the late Bob Uecker, Ken Korak, guys have been doing this for 20, 30 years. Like it always boggles my mind.
Well, the funny thing is they always said, well, you have somebody like Vin Scully do it. He's going to give preferential treatment to Dodger players.
He did national games forever.
No.
I know.
Are you telling me writers don't do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a writer not voting for Derek Jeter, that's because he's got a beef. And it's believed to be a Marlins writer, someone in South Florida who's pissed at Jeter about how his ownership. So if you're trying to take the human element out of it, the writers haven't proven they can do that.
Maybe it was the same guy that didn't vote for Ichiro because he's another Marlin guy.
Ichiro got career hit number 3,000 as a Marlin.
Coors Field, triple.
Like you can't take the human element out of, why Bonds, Clemens, all these guys, McGuire, Sosa, Palmeiro. I mean, all these guys, you can't. But they put them up. But the good thing is those guys got their process. Those guys got to be on the ballot. You had your chance to vote for Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, McGuire, name it, whoever. They got their operate. Now it's A-Rod. Now it's Manny Ramirez. They're getting due process. And if you don't vote for them, that's okay. That's your prerogative. And then they come off the ballot. Pete Rose never got that. If Pete Rose, once again, if Pete Rose was put on the ballot and he was never voted for, it wouldn't be an issue and we wouldn't be talking about it today in 2025. That's the big mistake. You denied him. You went, we don't want him in the Hall because they knew he'd be voted in, right? Or no. They believed he could still get voted in. Now what we know is he would never get voted in. But if it was just as a player, I mean, obviously he's first ballot, he's Pete Rose. But they were afraid that they were going to have put Pete Rose's plaque in the Hall of Fame. They were so afraid of that when if they just would have let him go through the process, now we know writers would have never voted him. We would have never got the 75%. And back then, we didn't have social media. We didn't have tracking the votes. We didn't have any of that. Remember? It's kind of like the NFL draft. I always laugh people. You know, the NFL draft back in the day was you picked up the paper and you realized who you drafted the next day.
Wait, you're telling me that the scouting combine wasn't on? Like
Nope.
That was this past weekend?
There's no scouting combine on television. There wasn't a town that hosted the draft.
There was no Mel Kiper Jr.?
There was, ESPN started doing it. But back in the day, before ESPN in the 70s, you just open up the paper. Hey, we selected so-and-so in the second round. That was it, right? So this was the same way back in the day with the Hall of Fame induction. You just found out who was voted in, who wasn't. There was no tracking. So Pete Rose would have caught a little bit of that if he was on, would you say, till 2006?
It would have been like 2006. Yeah.
He would have caught a little bit of it, but not much. I mean, when did we start really? We're tracking, and this guy is tracking at 84%. Joe Mauer is tracking at 83% right now. When did that start? That's kind of new.
Yeah, that's Ryan Thibodeau. He's from the Bay Area. He does the whole Hall of Fame ballot tracking. He's been doing that for the last, I want to say maybe 10 years. So I don't know how far back it goes.
10 years is 2015.
Yeah.
Pete Rose, 2000. So Pete Rose would have got none of that.
Yeah, the MLB Network didn't even come around until what, 2009?
Well, in reality, as you made a very astute point, my friend. If everybody said, we're not voting for this guy, he would have been immediately off the ballot. If he didn't get the 5%, he would have been, see you later. So now I just wanted to show you this has nothing to do with the commissioner. This has nothing to do with the actual sport of baseball. This was the Baseball Hall of Fame made this decision, and it's been a nightmare for all this time. And now we're still having articles about reinstatement. And now reinstatement's a whole different deal. And if that means a lot to the Pete Rose family, I get it. But for us as fans, Pete Rose is dead. Reinstate Pete in baseball doesn't really mean anything. What they're hoping is then that they want him to get his due process is what they're hoping for. Is that there's a freeze. You thaw that freeze. He's reinstated. Now can we put him on? Because that'd be the first thing. The minute if baseball said, you know what, we're going to take away that. He's dead. All right, we'll take away the ban, which is going to be a bad look. And then all of a sudden it's going to be like, well, if he's not banned anymore, can we put him on the board? Can we put him on the ballot? That'll be the first thing that comes up. It could all been done with years ago. Shooty Babitt, who will be joining me this season on A's Cast on NBC. That will be our pre- and post-game show before and after every single A's game on NBC Sports California. Obviously, Talk 650 KSTE. You guys are used to watching A's games there and also Sacramento Kings games. We get blacked out of Kings games. We don't get to see Kings games. You got to have the NBA package. And so that's why I do not know the answer to this. No one has found me the answer, but I want to light the beam at a Kings game.
I don't. I'm just a lower level employee. I have no say in that. I'm gonna have to send you up to the food chain of people to talk to.
Well, you have claimed over time that you like the Kings.
I do, but I have no chain of command.
So you don't like the Kings enough to know whether non-players staff can light the beam.
Reach out to our good friend Dave Deuce Mason. He might have an answer for you.
What are the rules for lighting the beam? That's what I want to know. Can regular schmoes light the beam? Because that's what I would be. I'd just be some regular schmo.
A's Cast night at the Golden One Center. I mean, meanwhile, just you.
I mean, if you want me to,
Shooty and Steve Sachs, I'll do it.
No. It's not a group of people that like the torch for Al Davis. One person does. I work for the Raiders. I've seen that. I want that. I just want to I don't want other people in my light the beam day. I want it to be exclusively me.
I don't have the answer for you. I don't know who to ask.
And then I'll I'll do like a fake I love the king. Like I was a big Rick Adelman guy. Take me back to the Bibby. I saw Peja Stojakovic, by the way, on
fun plays at Cal.
I saw him on Saturday. He was watching his son Andre play at Cal. I was there. By the way, so I'm at the Cal Boston College game. This is an ACC matchup. And we're at the game. My kids go to Cal. So I'm down at the game, and I'm down below, and the players are walking by after the game. And I'm just thinking for the Boston College guys, these guys got to get on a flight to Boston. And the next day, women's hoops. So Cal has qualified now for the ACC tournament. And then yesterday, women's Cal basketball, and the women are pretty good. They're playing Miami. You've got Boston College and Miami in Berkeley. And they're both going to have to fly all the way back to Boston and all the way back to Miami for a conference game. Have I gone over the limit?
Yeah.
Wait, it's 11:16.
Yeah. We got to break at 27.
You guys, you terrestrial radio people and your clocks. How long was Lawrence Butler?
Law was like 7:39.
All right, so let's play Lawrence Butler, and then we'll play Shooty at 11:30. But how crazy is that? It's a regular season conference game. Boston College has got to fly all the way back to Boston, and the Lady Hurricanes got to fly all the way back to Miami.
Well, I told you nothing
crazy.
Nothing says Atlantic Coast Conference like Berkeley, California.
So Peja, I saw him at the game, the great Sacramento.
Should have asked
King.
him. He might know.
So that's my Kings. C. Webb,
Brad Miller, Vlade, Gerald Wallace.
Vlade was the
Bobby Jackson.
Vlade then became the GM, smoking cigarettes in the tunnel.
Hell, one of their starting players is the Kings coach now, Doug Christie.
Doug Christie.
He's not a Kings coach.
Was he like Loyola and Marymount or Pepperdine or one of those?
He's one of the schools in the West.
He's WCC.
Yes.
He's a WCC guy.
He went to.
He wasn't USD.
Pepperdine.
Yeah, he's Pepperdine. He was a Wave. All righty. Omaha. We're going to switch it up because you start talking Pete Rose, look what happens.
And Cal travel.
Lawrence Butler. He is I feel like he's a star, but he's got to put up some big numbers to be a star. He's a special player. He's a special person. Talk about all the time what he means to this organization. Drafted, raised in this organization. Everybody's been a part of his career. When you're in the minor leagues, all the coaches, you travel on buses, all the coaches, everybody loves Lawrence. Lawrence loves being with the A's. Hopefully, there's been talk about a deal that's going to ink him up for years to come. He's a special player. He's a special talent. He's going to do a lot of stuff with us here on A's Cast. Here is LB. For a while now, Lawrence Butler back on A's Cast Live. First day.
First day, baby.
What's up? How are you?
Back. Hey, man, I missed A's Cast. I went to go watch some of my old interviews when it was in the off season.
I'll tell you what, we got a night. You came up, people are going to see this, but you came up with a great idea for us. You didn't know you were doing it, but when you asked the question to Mark Kotze today in the press conference, I thought, man, how great would it be if we create this thing for you to spearhead it with the other players, kind of make your own thing.
That'd be amazing.
That we then put on A's Cast and NBC.
I'm down with it. I mean, we could interview some of the players, other teams. We could just interview baseball legends. A lot of people come to the field on a daily basis that you never think. So, I think it'd be a good idea. I'm down if you're down.
I think it'd be incredible. We're going to work on that.
I'll be ready for that. A's Player Radio.
I've said this over and over about you. There's something special from the standpoint of coming out of high school, when you go through the minor leagues, all the coaches, because the way you guys travel, you get to know the hitting guys, the pitching guys, you get to know everybody. Every single coach at every level has been a part of your career. To then have you come up and to them see you have success, it's big for the organization. It's like you're one of the symbols. What does that mean to you when I say you're one of the symbols of this organization?
I mean, it means a lot because it just shows me how much, they value me. And, I love the A's. I love the organization from the grounds crew to the trainers. I mean, I just love everything about it. I bleed green and gold. And, for them to just acknowledge me as that and everybody just to keep telling me, keep going, and all the coaches coming back from the minor leagues, I'm seeing them and stuff like that. It means a lot because, it shows the hard work that I've put in and they've put in, with me. So, I mean, it means a lot to me.
I know there's going to be big expectations for you, not only from all of us, but probably on yourself after the way you proved coming back. You know what? I do belong here. I should be here. Yeah. What are the expectations like for you coming into this camp?
I mean, I set big expectations for myself. I kind of want to be, a leader, hitting the leadoff spot. I want to kind of set the tone for the team on and off the field. We got to do a lot of work in the weight room, a lot of stuff. Pay attention to detail, base running, fielding, hitting, and, not just me, but I want everybody to, get better at all facets of the game, even pitchers. I just want us to be a complete total teams, so we can make some playoff pushes this year.
And there's expectations. I think there's not only expectations from inside your group, but I think everybody in baseball saw you get better. I mean, I got to tell you, I like expecting to win again. Isn't this what we're all about
exactly.
here?
That's
supposed to win.
I mean, I feel like the atmosphere in the locker room is win now. It was that back in the day, but I mean, it just kind of things were different times back then. So, but now, everybody's coming into spring training with the same momentum and mindset that we had in the second half of the season into, this year and this spring training. So I feel like it'll carry over. We'll just win more games and hoping, my whole goal is to win the division. That's what I really want to do this year. Cots is preaching it in the locker room, and I'm right there with him. So hopefully we can take that AL West.
You guys didn't know about the contract extension when you arrived here today. When it was announced, what was it like? John Fisher, the owner, comes in to talk to you guys, announces it. What was the vibe like in the clubhouse?
I mean, it was just amazing to see John. We usually don't get to see him a lot, but, for him to step in front of all of us, especially with all the stuff going on, that took a lot from courage from him to come out there and talk to us today. We were just ecstatic. Kotz is our guy. He's a player's coach. We all love him. I mean, I don't know not one player that doesn't like Kotz. So, I mean, for him to be our leader for the next 3 years and it's stamped and legit, I mean, it's amazing. It builds confidence in us knowing we got the same skipper for, however many years and that we can, add some stuff and be able to build with him.
To build, because you will remember, and hopefully it's gone, but you'll remember where a lot of people felt that, well, if I play well, I'm just going to get shipped out once they have to pay me. Mm-hmm. There's that sense now because Severino got paid and Rooker got paid. Talk about like the culture. You really feel now that you can play here, be successful, and stay here for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, those were two big signings. I mean, we got a veteran pitcher and a really good pitcher in Sevy. I mean, Brooke is one of the leaders of our team, by far the captain of our team. So, I mean, to see that the organization values, those two guys, and especially Rook, because, he's been here, it means a lot to all of the players. It tells us that, if we play here and commit ourselves to here, that, there might be a gold pot at the end of the rainbow. So, it just means a lot to all of us, and I'm ecstatic for Rook. I was there when he got the call. We all went up.
You guys are at the Kings game, right?
We were in the middle of the Kings game and he got the call. So after we all went up, had some champagne, we just talked a little bit. So it was amazing. I'm happy for him.
How's that experience so far? Because you've been one of the guys that's gone to Sacramento.
Man.
There's a buzz about us.
Man, I mean, it was crazy because, the day we got there, me, Rook, and JP just went to a local, sports bar, and fans knew who we were. Yeah. And, just random people just walking around, hey, you Lawrence Butler, Rook, JPC. We was like, wow, that's crazy. We usually don't get to go too many places in Oakland, but, when we went to Sacramento, a lot of people knew who we were. So it was pretty cool. They were excited. There's a lot of fans at that basketball game that are really excited for us to start playing.
I think for your growth, you got to learn from failure.
Yeah.
And you had failures. There was big expectations. Things didn't happen for you. You had to figure it back out. You get strength from that. Mm-hmm. The struggles of last year that then turned into being, you were so highly productive, right? Player of the month and all that. What did you really learn from failure?
Me personally, I learned better from failure because I'm not the type of guy that fails and just thinks it's the end of the world. I'm going to try to figure out a way to overcome that failure. So I feel like it was kind of good for me, it was kind of like let me know that, hey, you're going to have to make some adjustments. You're going to have to work harder, if you want to stay here and be the big leaguer you say you want to be. So I feel like it was a lot. It was big for me to, go through that, get sent down, just get prepared mentally, figured out what I had to do, just never stop, always believed in myself and knew I could do it. So, it just paid off.
You have a vision of what you want to be, don't you?
I can't let everybody know my agenda, but I got a pretty big agenda.
I kind of got an idea.
Yeah, I got a pretty big agenda.
Let me help you get to that vision.
Hey, we're working in teams. We always been working.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like this is a big year for all of us. I think for all of our careers and everything that we're doing, and I can't thank you enough. I know you've been watching what we've been doing since you were a minor leaguer, and I think there's a lot that we can do to help you get to where you want to be. But sky's the limit for you.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited, for me and you, Towny. It's going to be a big year for both of us.
It's going to be a big
Y'all going to
year.
be seeing him a lot this year on this pregame show. I'm pretty sure me and him going to have a lot of talks this year, like we always do.
This is the star of the Athletics right here, folks. Right here. Hey, stay healthy. Have a great spring.
Thank you, Towny.
And we'll be doing a lot this year
We'll be doing a lot
on A's Cast.
Let's go.
What a special young man he is. I mean, unbelievable. Our buddy Road Trip Mike has become pretty close with his father. And it's like, once again, talk about somebody who was raised right. Lawrence Butler is good people. And you draft guys thinking one thing, and you luck out when you get the other. I want you to think about that for a second. When these scouts look at these guys, he's tall, he's fast, he's got power, you're trying to project what somebody can be athletically. Little do you know if you're going to hit the lotto with the personality. That and Shooty Babitt next, right here on A's Cast Live.
The time is now. Pitchers and catchers have officially reported to Arizona. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun as the Athletics get ready for the 2025 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Dodgers, Angels, and more at Ho-Ho-Cam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring. A's outfielder Brent Rooker joined Chris Townsend during spring training to discuss the confidence inside the A's clubhouse.
So it's a very real confidence. It's a very real optimism. It's unique in that it's a confidence that also comes with the knowledge that we haven't proven anything yet, and we know that people on the outside still don't believe in us, but we believe in ourselves and we believe in each other. And we are at a very cool crossroads of being hungry to compete, wanting to compete, and knowing that we can compete while also being confident what the future looks like. So it's a cool feeling inside the clubhouse right now. Guys are working really hard. Guys are communicating well. We're talking. We're trying to help each other get better, and that's a cool place to be.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2025 season. Secure your seats today for opening week against the Chicago Cubs and lots of exciting giveaways, including an A's basketball jersey, a straw hat, and 3 bobbleheads. You'll be nodding yes to our Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, and Lawrence Butler bobbleheads in June and July. More hot ticket homestands as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, and Mets. Get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today. The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
I've been checking. Not a lot of detail about how they choose who lights the beam, but I think they designate after win a player to light the beam.
Oh, okay. Well,
So if anybody listening right now on Talk 650 KSTE has any juice, please contact us and let us know how. Because clearly I'm not going to be playing in the NBA.
you gave up on that dream?
Yeah, I gave up on that dream. So how can we get a non-NBA guy to light the beam? I want to light the beam.
Make like a special exception or something?
There's an exception to every rule, right? Like if this was like a college and I was a big donor, I'd be lighting that thing in a second.
They would name the beam after you.
Oh, it's the Chris Townsend Golden One beam. Well, he donated $300 million to the school. So Chris Townsend can light the beam anytime he wants. I'm showing up late at night lighting the beam.
It's the light the beam presented by Chris Townsend.
Yeah. Well, he gave $400 million to the school. So, I mean, that's how colleges work.
It was either we can name the beam after you, or we can name a hall at your college after you.
Hey, I was at Haas Pavilion on Saturday night, and you walk around Haas Pavilion, there's all kinds of stuff donated to certain people's names, right? You give enough money to a school, you can get your name plastered all over the place. Well, it's called Haas Pavilion, for God's sakes. Shooty Babitt in moments. Just want to get back to Lawrence Butler. And Shooty Babitt is a great example. I can tie the two. One of the things that Shooty is known for is getting all the 411. By the way, the beam was created for 916 Day. Of course, the area code 916 for Sacramento. That's how I guess it was created. I'm studying up. All right, anyway. So
Sorry, I had nothing to add there. That's a cool thing.
It's how you're the best in the business. So Shooty would tell you when he goes to scout a kid, especially like a high school kid, he wants to talk to the parents. He wants to talk to teachers. He wants to talk to the girlfriend. He wants to talk to everybody. He wants to know, who is this kid? What makes this kid tick? Because the great ones are more than just, and it's kind of sad where we're going, where, everybody's becoming so data-driven that everybody's becoming very similar, and we're just all just worried about data. And it's like that in all sports. So unique players are very rare. Lawrence is a unique player. He's a unique personality. And it's very cool to share the journey with him. As Lawrence Butler watched this show, like a lot of our players do, in the minor leagues. Bobby Crosby was the manager at AA. Bobby would watch this show in his office. Players would come in and watch it with him. Why? This is why players are different now, the younger players, than the Max Scherzer, archaic, and the players from years before, because the young players, they want to get to the big leagues. So they want to know what's going on with the big league team. Well, they can watch YouTube, they can watch Twitter, X, and watch this show, A's Cast Live. And when we're on the field and all the years we've been doing this, they can see the players. They can see everything that's going on because this is what they want to be. This is where they want to get. So Lawrence Butler, it's like Darrell Hernandez was one of the great examples. It was last year. I'm walking in to Hohokam Park, and Darrell Hernandez is with the Rawlings guy, drops the glove, and immediately comes over to introduce himself to me. Years past, would have never happened. A new player who had no clue who the heck I am. But Darrell had watched this show and knew I got to get on that show. That's what this is where my direction, my career needs to go. And so it's pretty cool staying there with Lawrence Butler. It's going to be a big year for all of our careers because it is. And to watch him, Lawrence is the kind of player that he could sign a $300 million contract. It'll change everybody a little bit, but Lawrence is still going to be a very special person. He cares about everybody, cares about the organization. He cares about the people who work in the organization and treats everybody like gold because that's his personality. That's who he is. So when a Shooty Babitt goes out and finds a player and you draft the kid, if he turns out to be this super dynamic personality that can be the face of the franchise, man, what a win that is. That's the guy you put like, it's the one thing we didn't know about Bryce Harper with the Phillies, but the whole embrace of Philly and the Philly fanatic and everything, that's the face of the franchise, man. You put that guy, all your promotional stuff, you put him on the billboard, that's what you do. And if Lawrence has a big year in a big couple of years, you go to Vegas and it's going to be all Vegas is king. You come out of the Vegas airport, it's all billboards for all the shows and everything. Well, you put Lawrence Butler up there. He's that personality. He's big, he's good looking, he's funny. He's got everything you want. He's got everything you want in a star. Just in our sport, you got to put massive numbers to go along with all that. But he's got the makings of something really, really special. And to watch his career grow, and hopefully this is the first full year springboarding him into greatness, it's going to be awesome to cover. Because he's the type of guy, I just think these guys went, speaking of the Kings and Light the Beam, when our players went to the Kings game and the way they were treated and everything, I mean, it was special. It has the makings to be really, really cool. And Lawrence Butler is going to be a big part of that. But let's get to Shooty Babitt. Shooty is a unique talent because who knew a scout would be so good on television and so well dressed? The kid from Berkeley. Shooty's been a friend for a long, long time. I've known him for years. We've played a lot of golf together. Shooty always laughs. If he would have came up in today's era, he would have had a much longer career. Because now guys don't have to hit for batting average. I mean, Shooty could, but what a scout, what a TV career over 20 years. But what a year, which is just the amount of people that Shooty has been a part of their journeys in this career is in the thousands. It's in the thousands. All the reports, all the guys drafted, all the guys seen, all the trades. Man, what a baseball life for the great Shooty Babitt. We caught up with him down in spring training. Longtime friend, Shooty Babitt here on A's Cast. It is great to see you. I don't think a lot of people realize, you may not even realize, I think the first time I interviewed you, I was doing the morning show on KMBR with Gary Radnich. We're going back to like late 90s, early 2000s. So it's been a long time since you and I have either worked together or I've interviewed you. So much respect, and we're embarking on a new challenge as we're going to be taking over A's Cast Live. Essentially, A's Cast is now going to be, we're going to be at the pre- and post-game show on NBC. We're going to call it A's Cast on NBC, and of course, you're going to be a big part of it. It's going to be an honor to have you on board.
It's just overwhelming, Towny, to be in the position that I'm in and all the things that have happened over the past few years, and to become more a part of not only the scouting world with the A's, but the media part, and being able to cover the team on an everyday basis and give the great highlights, be on with you multiple times, and just your energy carrying over. I mean, we've had some tough times, but man, look at where we are right now. There's so much to look forward to with this new young club. You had some young guys who had a tremendous amount of success early on, stumbled a little bit, found their feet. Some guys had some great seasons. Now they've been major leaguers for a year, 2 years. And I expect guys to take big steps forward. So there's been movement, there's been change. It's going to be a new atmosphere. There's going to be some new voices. There's going to be some new ideas. This is going to be a great 2025. And I'm just so blessed and happy and excited to be a part of it.
Not to go too far back and get too emotional, but this organization has been a big part of your life ever since you were a little kid. I mean, you grew up in a time where a lot of people were going away from baseball, that they were going to football, and obviously you were a terrific athlete growing up, but this franchise kind of molded you and gave you direction of what you wanted to be and where you want to go, and then throughout your life, get into the big leagues as an A's player. And then now to think about working for the franchise, not only what we're doing, but obviously we talk about all the time, you're one of the top scouts in the game. What baseball and what this organization has meant to your life is unreal.
You can't build anything without a strong foundation. And I would like to say that I'm a baseball man. I would say that I have a PhD in this business. And I didn't think that my journey would end up this way. You know, Mr. Jim Gwynn, who signed Ricky Henderson, signed Claudio Washington off the track team. He wasn't even on the baseball team, but he made dreams come true. And I dreamed of being a major league player, but I never thought I'd have that opportunity when the A's moved there when I was 12 years old, and finally got an opportunity to see a team up close because I love the Giants, but we lived in Berkeley, and I never got a chance to see Willie Mays. I heard it on the radio most of the time, and Lon Simmons bringing the games. But once I got drafted and I was in the system and I had a quick descent to the big leagues, I played well every year. I got into Instruction League. The A's had Instruction League for the first time when the Hoss family bought the club. And Bob Didier took me under his wing and wanted to know why I hadn't stolen more bases. And I said, they haven't given me an opportunity. He said, well, you're going to get a chance to run down here. And I ended up stealing 39 bases in 39 attempts. I got invited to big league camp. We had 100 guys in camp. Darryl Brown had number 100 on his back. That's where the odds of somebody making a club. Lo and behold, Brian Doyle just came from the Yankees, had a great World Series, came to the A's with the big league attitude, played 3 innings, 4 innings, let Shooty go caddy and play. Every time I got an opportunity, things just fell my way. I made a great play running down the foul line, making a catch, took an extra base, just opening up eyes. And lo and behold, I made the club. I was only here for a year and a couple of days. Didn't know what was going to happen after that. I ended up working the business with my father as a mechanic, learned how to be a mechanic, towing cars, working on cars, you name it. But I still was with the A's, and they kept me in the community, going out talking to kids, meeting with Rotary clubs, just being a part of the club. And the opportunity came up in '95 for me to get a chance to get back in the game as a scout. And 32 years later, I'm embarking on my 32nd year, my 6th with the A's, and you know the rest of it. The TV and the radio has been 23 years, and for some reason, this club has always treated me like I was one of those guys with one of the numbers up on the stadium, and I have been so humble to be in certain groups, get invited to things. I have the honor and the distinction of sending home one of the greatest players who ever wore the green and gold, and it was a request, not a suggestion. And those type of things, I shake my head all the time, and I don't take it for granted. But the one thing that I know is I have a lot of people's name on my back when I'm out here and I'm representing those people. If it's not Billy Beane, David Forrest, Dan Feinstein, Jim Gwynn, Mac and Betty Babitt, you name it. And I have a responsibility and an honor to make sure that I don't mess it up for the next African-American kid that has a dream and gets an opportunity to don't blow it. And for you to keep me out front like you have, you've always come to me, you show me nothing but respect, and now we get a chance to work together as a team. A lot of times when you change teams or you change venues, a little nervous where you're going, you got to learn new people. Man, I'm ready to go, man. You're going to set this thing on fire, man. And I'm so thankful for you having me. I'm so thankful for the A's ushering in this new situation for us and for me to be a part of it, man. And it's you're right, Towny. This has been my life, and I don't know what my life would have been like without the green and gold, but that's something I don't even want to think about because the fact of the matter is that I'm here at 66 years old, 40-something years later after I signed my first professional contract.
Yeah, so many people, think of you as a former player, and they see you, whether it's on television or they hear you on radio, of course, streaming, as we like to say here on A's Cast. People, you have such an interesting skill set because your scouting background all these years, we've always joked to people, listen, when we say you're in the bushes, but you've scouted all across this country. You've been to all these towns, all these minor league ballparks. You've been to colleges. You know the entire game of what it takes for a young man to try and get here and how to get here. Talk about just that experience of being so much on the road as a scout and how you're able to translate that to the viewers and the listener.
I just think that it's more than just playing catch, going up there hitting and throwing. I mean, if you look at the whole grand scheme of what it takes to be a professional in the bushes, I mean, every kid that shows up was the best kid from where they were from, and now they've got to separate themselves. And where technology is and all the different learning tools that we have to enhance one's skills, for me as a player, when we didn't have all of this to our or have access to everything here, and you may have had a teammate or two you threw batting practice with, you threw batting practice to, you shag balls together, you went and threw together. We had one trainer, he drove the bus, he was the medical guy, he set up the hotel, he was the team secretary, traveling, he was everything. And with all of that being said, I mean, we rode buses that broke down halfway to Reno, but you know what, the goal and the dream that we all had is trying to get to the show, and that's what we called it. And for me to be there, to watch it, to see it, we read about so many people that are trying to reinvent the game. You and I were having a conversation early on about golf, and I mean, it's hole to hole, I mean, from tee box to hole. And everybody doesn't do it the same way, but the goal is to get the ball in the hole in the less amount of time as possible. And in this game is the same way. You got to simplify things, and I say it all the time. If you, as a hitter, if you can see it and hit it, you're ahead of a zillion people right there, because that's the hardest thing to do. Now, everything else that comes with that, you know, it comes with playing the game, learning the game, being around the game, just taking ground balls, taking fly balls. I mean, over and over and over and over. You see the best in the world, guys that are making $400 million. They're here at 7 o'clock in the morning working on their craft. It does not stop. So for me, you know, the tools jump out at you as a scout. It's the work ethic and what's inside that guy, how he carries himself on the field, how he carries himself away from the field, how his teammates talk about, how his managers talk about, how other managers, how other coaches. Information that you can't get by typing it on the computer. Those are things that I've always prided myself in being able to get information. Being in the game as long as I've played against great players, I've played with great players, I've scouted great players. I go and talk to some of those players whenever I get an opportunity, because I want wisdom and knowledge from the guys, the best who have ever done it. And I think that's what gives me an opportunity to shine in my area, what I do, because of the resources that I've had and able to use them over the long period of time that I've been in this game. And you always have given me props about the way that I dress and do that. I try not to let nobody outwork me. I try not to let anybody outdress me. I try not to let it outtalk me when it's my time to talk, because if you don't have nothing to say, nobody's going to let you talk. So it's just, I don't know. You know, I'm a man of faith, and I believe in that. And as long as I can stay disciplined to that, I can live with the results. So it's a challenge, just like getting up every morning and finishing a day. But at the end of the day, as long as we put in the best that we can do, that's all we can do.
Well, we're taking on a lot of responsibility, and we're taking on a lot with A's Cast and now the NBC. And I thought starting this thing, there's nobody better that I want to embark on this challenge with. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great, man. Sacramento, we coming.
The great Shooty Babitt right here on A's Cast. Did you hear that? Probably about a minute ago. If you can see it and you can hit it, you're light years ahead of a lot of people. That is somebody that for all these years, as he says, in the bushes, down in the minor leagues, down at colleges, at high schools, seeing all these players, if you can see it, you can hit it, and you can make consistent contact, you got a shot. Doesn't mean you're going to get there, but it means you got a shot. And it goes back to the Red Sox ESPN article / Boston Globe article about all the driveline guys that they have hired, and that they've created a lab atmosphere for Red Sox hitters. And they approach these 3 top prospects, but they're doing this with all the guys. We're going to hit it hard, and we're going to hit it in the air. But are you going to make contact? Because Shooty's going to tell you, all that stuff's great, but when you can't make contact, because the lab isn't the game. He mentions golf. That's why golf is a great. You can sit on the range and pound golf balls all day long and have TrackMan there and look at all your readings. Are you coming from the inside? Are you coming from the outside? You know, TrackMan tells you all these different things about your swing. That's how when you go to get, as they say, fitted for golf clubs, like you go and you test with Titleist. Titleist will come to your golf course. They got all the technology there, and they're going to find the right shafts and right everything for your swing. And they use the technology to do that. That's all great. But once you go out to the course and you got to tee it up, now you got to score. And it's a whole different deal because now you're not on the range pounding balls. Every shot matters. And that's the problem with baseball is that we're developing good things, but they're not always translating to the field, right? Strikeout rates are crazy. They're crazy. Approach of never like, I got to put the ball in play. I got to have what we like to say a 2-strike approach. You've got to be able to make contact. I don't care how good you look in the minor leagues. I don't care where you were drafted, how much you signed for. If you get to the big league level and you're just striking out constantly, you will not be here long. You're not going to have a great career. You're not going to be here long, and you're not going to make any money. You have to be able to put the ball in play. Because if you just strike out, you're an easy out, and it's tough to watch. And they'll grin and bear it for a while with certain guys. But long term, you're out of here. And you wish you could, when you've dragged me to some of these minor league games, and you look at some of it, it's just like strikeout. And you're like, God, man, you're not going to get out of A ball striking out over 30% of the time. No offense to the Stockton Ports or the San Jose Giants games that you dragged me to. No offense to anybody.
Well, I told you, we got to ask Spilly tomorrow.
Well, who's the guy with the Rockies that we were?
Zach Veen. We got to ask Spilly about him tomorrow. He's still one of their top prospects.
We went to it. This kid was the top prospect.
Signing bonus. I mean,
number one pick, signed for like $8 million. He struck out 3 times, and he wasn't close on any of them.
I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I went to that same ballpark, Excite Ballpark in San Jose.
No. That's San Jose Muni.
I go by the sponsor name.
No. Yeah, because you're a corporate shill. That's San Jose Municipal, where some of the greatest players, including yours truly, where San Jose State played, San Jose Giants, the old San Jose Bees. George Brett played in that ballpark. By the way, also, Bill Walsh coached a football team at San Jose Municipal Stadium.
So I was at San Jose Muni, Excite Ballpark, whatever you want to call it, and I was watching the San
I've
Jose.
never heard anyone call it Excite Ballpark.
Probably not, but I just go by the official wording on the stadium. I was there to watch San Jose State play, yes, Utah Valley. If you know where Utah Valley is, that college.
Wait a minute. They're in Utah?
Yeah, they are, but I forget what city they were in.
That's a college, Utah Valley?
Yeah.
My Spartans were playing Utah Valley.
Yeah, I think they ended up sweeping the series. I mean, it was a 3-game set over a weekend. I went on the Friday game, and the pitcher for San Jose State was decent. Not a lot of strikeouts. There was a lot of ball split in play. It was nice to see.
Utah Valley University is a public university in Orem, Utah. That's O-R-E-M.
Yeah, Orem, yeah.
Orem, Utah.
So that's who they played. And then this past weekend, they were playing USF. I don't know if they won Sunday, but the Spartans were 8-2 going into yesterday's game.
Coach Flip, get them going.
So we talk a little college baseball here.
Do you know when it was founded? We learn stuff here on this program. Utah Valley University was founded in 1941.
Oh, okay. So it's a newer college.
Wow. There you go. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, so that's how I saw them play. But it was nice seeing a lot of balls put in play in the college level. And then you go watch minor league baseball, and it's strikeout after strikeout after strikeout. And, with the Ports, we talked about it last year. They use how many different starters, they use tandem starters, and it's not great. But, as you progress up the levels, guys go longer in the games. But speaking of that, Mason Barnett, one of the guys, he was reassigned to minor league camp. That happened yesterday. 7 guys were reassigned. But Barnett, a guy that
Daniel Thusak was one of those guys.
The guy that we're trying to stretch out, the guy that was in the Royals trade last year with Lucas Ursig, we'll see him at some point. But yeah, 7 guys, I believe it was 7 guys were reassigned yesterday. I have all the details. Yeah, 7 non-roster invitees, including Barnett and Daniel Thusak, were the 2 big ones. So we're getting closer and closer to opening day. It's coming up. So
okay. I saw on the text thread yesterday, we got how much? 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Our fantasy, we don't play for money. We've now learned, okay? Because of last year, they made us do it for a second time last year. I really paid attention this time. What Major League Baseball, our parameters, we're not playing anything, so we can't play fantasy baseball because we're not playing for anything. Correct?
That's how I read it too, yes.
So we're going to have a draft I'm not doing it on my birthday. You guys put dates out there. My birthday's March 15th. I'm not sitting around my birthday selecting Jose Quintana of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, he just signed today. Robert Murray, our friend from Fansided, 1-year deal. Don't know the particulars.
One of the guys we've been waiting. Is he going to sign?
So he's now a Brewer.
I want to be Old Man River. I want to be that guy. Get off my lawn. I want to go through an auto draft, but I just want to have guys that throw innings and guys that hit for batting average.
So you want Logan Webb, Sandy Alcantara.
Logan Webb for sure. Can he give me 200 innings again? You called him an ace.
He did it. Did he have 200 innings again last year?
Remember that? And you got all huffy puffy when I went, dude, how do you call him an ace? You still calling Logan Webb an ace?
He had 204 and 2/3 last year, so another 200.
Ooh.
I mean, when no one goes long in the games, that's pretty impressive.
Was he an ace? Was that ace-like? Was he an ace last year?
Not last year, no. I think he led. He led in the National League in innings.
You getting a plaque ready for him in Cooperstown right now?
It's back-to-back. Well, Sandy can't pitch, so he has someone has to lead the innings.
One of my golf partners, Chuck Conrad, is very good friends with Logan Webb and his family, so I can't say anything bad about Logan Webb anymore. I never did anyway. I'd take Logan Webb in a second. He'd be a perfect A. Give me 200 innings.
Grew up as an ace fan.
So, okay, I'm all in. So we need to go through an auto draft, but we got to get so we're going to have to individually find all the guys that I want batting average.
Luis Arraez.
Arraez is my number one pick. Arraez is my number one. I mean, he's the number one on my
Towny hits for over 300, and he'll get you some homers and some runs.
No. I got to stay away from that. He doesn't fit my narrative.
I'd like to see how this goes.
Yeah, let's see how it works. And if I finish in last place, I go down I'm gonna be like a billionaire owner. I'm going down with my guys. If I go down, I go down with my guys. You can have and you know what? And it'll show fantasy baseball promotes all the wrong things. No, we love home runs. But yes, I want 9 Luis Arraez, even though there's not 9 of them. I got to get my guy Quan.
Yeah, 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Up next, White Sox A's. We'll see you tomorrow right here on A's Cast Live.
Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2025 season. Secure your seats today for opening week against the Chicago Cubs and lots of exciting giveaways, including an A's basketball jersey, a straw hat, and 3 bobbleheads. You'll be nodding yes to our Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, and Lawrence Butler bobbleheads in June and July. More hot ticket homestands as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, and Mets. Get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.